Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Kmart, and I want to talk about some basketball. And today, we are going to be talking about the Golden State Warriors and how their off-season decisions have all, so far, seemed to have been the right ones for this team. So, the Warriors are off to a pretty fantastic start. If you haven't noticed, they're one of the top teams in the Western Conference, one of the top teams in the league, really. And if you take a look at the statistical profile for this team, it's pretty easy to see why. On the offensive side of things, they were already a strong offense going back to last season, 8th in the league in offensive rating last year. They're doing even better this season. They're currently 2nd in the league in offensive rating. Almost all of their offensive stats are either the same or better than they were last year, right? Field goals, field goal attempts, field goal percentage, 3-pointers made, 3-point attempts, 3-point percentage. Their free throw numbers are up, assists, points off turnovers, second chance points, fast break points, points in the paint, etc. Pretty much every category that you can think of in terms of scoring is higher for the Warriors so far this year than it was last year. So the offense has become an incredibly strong unit. Meanwhile, on the defensive side of the ball, they've done something similar. The Warriors have one of the better defenses in the league, statistically speaking. They're 4th in the league in defensive rating. They are 1st in total rebounds after being 1st in total rebounds last season as well. And in terms of their scoring defense, they're just 7th in points allowed, 2nd in the league in field goal percentage against, 1st in the league in 3-point percentage against, and also 3rd in steals and 8th in blocks. So a very solid, very opportunistic defense combined with an incredibly strong offense has the Warriors sitting in a pretty good spot here. And that's kind of the point that I want to make here. And the point that I made a little while back as well, I made a video to the effect of, I think I titled it, "The Warriors are probably going to be okay," right? Because whether intentionally or just sort of through circumstances, the Warriors came into this season with 3 major points, if you're looking at it from a quote-unquote basketball philosophy perspective, right? I don't really like that term, but we're going to go with it. The 3 points that they were working around were, 1, that Steph Curry could continue to be a centerpiece for the team. 2, that the team did not need to go get another sort of big name or all-star caliber player to stay competitive. And 3, kind of an extension of 2, by not making that trade, their young players were worth holding on to and continuing to invest into. So far, all of those sort of 3 points have worked out in the Warriors' favor. You take a look at the first point, Steph Curry. Technically speaking, his scoring is down from previous years. That's true. But if you look at his numbers, still insanely good. Averaging 22 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, 6.3 assists, shooting 47.2% from the field and 43.5% from 3. So technically speaking, the scoring has gone down, but he continues to produce. He's doing so at a very efficient rate, and he is still the clear-cut focal point and centerpiece of this lineup, and it's working to fantastic effect. So, point 1, very obviously in the Warriors' favor. For point 2, they did not need to go out and get a big name. In fact, they pretty much lost on that front. Klay Thompson went to the Mavericks. They didn't really fully execute and pull the trigger on that Lauri Markkanen trade, despite a kind of lengthy period of interest where they were going back and forth with trade offers, but they didn't replace Thompson with another big name. Instead, they ended up going after Buddy Hield, who, as unfair as it is not considered to be on the level of, a Klay Thompson or a Lauri Markkanen, but Hield has done pretty much exactly what the Warriors have needed him to be. He is the second option behind Curry, but if you take a look at his stats so far, he's matching the scoring production that Klay Thompson had last season. He is comparable in rebounds and assists, and he is shooting from an efficiency standpoint at a much higher rate than what Thompson had last season. So they replaced the outgoing production, and they did not need to go out and go sign some big name all-star player in order to do so. So second point working out in the Warriors' favor. And then the final point, the young players that they did not want to give up. One of the things that reportedly killed a trade for Lauri Markkanen was the Warriors' unwillingness to part with some of their up-and-coming guys, right? The three in particular that you sort of think of in that scenario, Kuminga, Podziemski, and I suppose at this point we're going to include Moses Moody as well. Those are three guys the Warriors really did not want to part with if they could avoid it, and so far that sort of loyalty to their players or unwillingness to trade them away is paying off. I will say none of those guys have turned into star players so far this year, right? Kuminga, Podziemski, Moody, none of them are really all-star caliber at this point. But they also have not sort of suddenly regressed from where they were last season. They've effectively shown that their development over the last year or so was real development, not a flash in the pan or a fluke or a one-off or a extenuating circumstances kind of scenario here. They have shown they are capable of matching that production and continuing to play at the level that we saw from them last year, and it's part of the reason the Warriors have been able to rely upon them so far in this campaign. So really all three of those major points have turned out to be true for the Warriors. They can still rely on Steph. They did not need to go trade for some all-star big name player, and their young guys were worth holding on to and are so far paying back value. So the narrative in the offseason was that the Warriors had missed out on big names and that they were taking risks on their young players by keeping them. Those narratives are technically true, but the risks are paying off. Not making the trade appears to have been the right decision. Continuing to build around Steph Curry continues to have been the right decision. And that's not even mentioning some of the smaller guys still making contributions, right? Guys like Draymond Green, guys like Kevon Looney are still there. Guys that they brought in, Kyle Anderson, I want to say D'Anthony Melton, still making contributions as newer members of the team. So it's not all sort of the big names that I mentioned, but those are kind of the key points here. The Warriors made decisions in the offseason, ones that could have potentially been risky. Instead, all of those risks are, so far at least, working out pretty well for them. But really, that's all I got. So at this point, what do you think about the Warriors? Do you believe that this is sustainable for the team? Do you think that, Steph will continue to produce? That Buddy Hield will continue to be sort of that strong second option? Do you think any of those sort of young guys, the Kuminga, Podziemski, Moody, does take that next step in their development, does become sort of a third core player alongside Hield and Curry? Or do you think that maybe this is not quite sustainable for the Warriors, that the level of play that they're at right now might drop off over the course of the rest of the season? Either way, please feel free to let me know what you think. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I will talk to you later.